Hello, my name's Cristina Della Rosa with the Marie Drake Planetarium. I'm here to talk about Santa in space. I hope you learned something and have some fun along the way. It's my gift for you this holiday season. I'd like to start things off with a bang, and I have good news. Anthony Fauci said, I took a trip up there to North Pole. I went there and I vaccinated Santa Claus myself. I measured his level of immunity, and he is good to go. So thanks, Dr. Fauci. NORAD stands for the North America Aerospace Defense Command. It's a project of both the United States and Canada, and for over 60 years, NORAD and its predecessor has been tracking Santa's route around the world on Christmas Eve, so check out the app. Santa might get around the world to deliver presents using supersonic speeds. Supersonic speeds are referred to by Mach numbers. Flights that are faster than Mach 1 is supersonic. Mach 5 is 5 times the speed of sound. The speed of sound is about 768 miles an hour, and in 1947, Air Force Captain Chuck Yeager became the first person to fly an aircraft faster than the speed of sound. So here's an example of how Santa delivers his mail on planet Earth. All right. So Santa follows his way to his way to space by following the stars. But of course, stars are not in this shape. This is more of a fun way we draw a star as a shape, as an image. And stars are actually mostly hydrogen and helium. They produce light and heat from the churning nuclear forces inside the core. So space. So Santa's going to space, so we have to talk about what is space. It's a word that's used a lot. It's basically a vast three-dimensional region that begins where the Earth's atmosphere ends. And where the Earth's atmosphere ends, that's the lowest altitude in which satellites can maintain orbits for a reasonable amount of time without falling into the atmosphere. So space is basically can also be looked at as a near vacuum between celestial bodies. It's where everything, the planets, the stars, the galaxies, and other objects like comets are found. And on our planet Earth, space is generally considered to begin about 63 miles above Earth. And astronomers sometimes talk about interplanetary space, which is the space between planets, or intergalactic space, the space between galaxies, or the interstellar space, which is the space between stars in our galaxy. And sometimes scientists believe that space extends indefinitely in all directions, just like if you had a balloon and you could just blow it up and blow it up and blow it up forever and ever. And other people think that space is finite and unbounded, and that's kind of like planet Earth. It has a definite size. It doesn't just go on forever. And there's no particular point on planet Earth where we can say this is where Earth begins and this is where Earth ends. So here we have two pictures of a comet. So one is one of Santa's reindeer. Generally, he's thought to have 7 reindeer. And you can think about if you know all their names afterwards. And on the right-hand side is a comet, which is basically a cosmic snowball of frozen gas, rock, and dust. So this is how we generally think about Santa going up into space. He has his sleigh, he has his presents, he has his reindeer. And of course, Santa's always shown without a helmet and without anything really to propel him into space. But maybe Santa can get some kind of fuel to help power him into space, such as shown here. Of course, if he goes too fast up into space, he could have an accident and drop all the presents. So how does Santa get into space? Well, science does not provide an explanation. Science is a very important way to understand the world and the universe. And instead, Santa is generally something we consider magical, and magic is a way we can kind of explain what Santa does. Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction writer, wrote that science is the magic we don't understand yet. But I don't think we'll ever really understand the magic that Santa does to get into space. So if you actually want to get into space, you can look at this example of the space shuttle. You need a rocket, such as this triangular shaped space shuttle, that's going to be propelled off the Earth's surface, and it might be going to another place on the Earth, or it might be going to a target such as the International Space Station or to the moon. And then the spacecraft is what travels in space, and the rocket is what propels the vehicle off the Earth. The rocket here is the orange-shaped object towards the back, and it burns up a lot of fuel, and it has to escape the gravitational pull of the planet Earth. So Santa, no matter how he gets up into space, he has to know whether the people have been naughty or nice. So he can decide how many presents he needs to bring. But how does Santa know if you've been naughty or nice? Perhaps he looks through a telescope, or perhaps he just Googles you. So what about if Santa doesn't have a sleigh with a reindeer? Well, that's no problem. There's lots of other ways to get into space. The Kennedy Space Center have an event each year called Christmas in Space, which is a lot of fun if you ever get a chance to attend that. Maybe he has a UFO type of spaceship, or a candy cane spaceship. Maybe he has a spaceship with a nice viewing window so he can steer himself. Maybe he uses balloons to get up into space. My favorite idea is perhaps Santa can use a bicycle, like in E.T., and go up into space. And perhaps instead of reindeer, he could have horses. Perhaps he has a whole entire spaceship to go up into space. Spacecraft. And this will be a really cool way to get into space if this could take off from planet Earth. And if he does go up to space, he's certainly going to take lots of supplies up to the International Space Station, such as socks and magnetic boots and food and all kinds of fun supplies for them. So Santa's motto is work hard and dream big. And that's kind of our motto here at the Marie Drake Planetarium. So another way Santa could get into space is perhaps he might go on a spacecraft that is used to get up into the International Space Station. In the past, we had the Space Shuttle, which went from 1981 to 2011. For about 20 years, the Soyuz, which was a Russian spacecraft, took people and supplies up to the International Space Station. And on the bottom, we show the SpaceX. That's a private company with a Falcon rocket and a Dragon spacecraft that has been taking supplies up to the ISS since 2012. And this year, they actually took up 4 astronauts, and they now to actually make a total of 7 astronauts there. So if Santa gets to the ISS with a spacecraft or not, maybe one of the astronauts working outside the International Space Station might not realize that Santa's coming up behind him. And we have here proof that there was a visit from Santa in the International Space Station. Generally, there are 6 people there with their Christmas stocking. So after Santa visits the ISS, he'll continue up to the moon. So the moon orbits the Earth every 27.32 days. And the distance to the moon is about 238,855 miles, which is about equivalent to 30 Earths if you line them up. So here's Santa getting ready to land on the moon. And after that long journey, he's going to have a rest. Maybe he'll goof off and have a rest and goof off some more, having fun there on the moon. If the moon was made of cheese, perhaps he would meet a mouse on the moon. But of course, it's a fun idea, but the moon is actually not made of cheese. It's more like the Earth, made of things like metal and rock. Maybe Santa will post his own flag up there on the moon, or maybe he'll put a hat on the man on the moon. And here we have proof that Santa landed on the moon. he was able to miss that crater and not land in there and land on the moon along with the footprints of the previous people who've landed on the moon. Yeah, more proof that Santa has been to the moon. Who might he meet on the moon? Well, he's not going to meet any astronauts because the last astronaut who was on the moon was in 1972, and this was the Apollo 17 mission. And only 12 people have landed on the moon. They were all Americans, all men. And the next person to land on the moon is probably a 50-50 chance it will be a woman. So an important question I've been wondering is, do aliens celebrate Christmas and do they want gifts? Well, aliens are not going to be like these pictures shown here. They're not going to have this humanoid form. But perhaps if they did, which is just fun to imagine, they would want Santa to bring them some presents. Perhaps they would beam up the presents from Santa when he's not looking. Or perhaps they would just take Santa and his reindeer up into their spacecraft, just like on Star Trek when they said, "Beam me up, Scotty," when they had the transporter device. So finally Santa gets ready to leave the moon, and where shall he go next? Well, if he's got a lot of energy, maybe he'll head out to Saturn. Saturn has been explored by the Cassini mission. It left Earth in 1997 and it started orbiting Saturn in 2004. And Saturn has 62 moons, and here we can see Santa has left some Christmas stockings to 6 of these moons. And one of the things that happened on the Cassini mission was the European Space Agency had a Huygens lander, which actually landed on Saturn's largest moon of Titan. So it was a very successful expedition, took masses of photographs, and they're probably still analyzing the data. And in 2017, when Cassini was running out of steam to keep going orbiting the planet, they decided to plunge it into the planet so it would be destroyed and not possibly contaminate anything there. So that was the end of the very successful Cassini mission. So Santa heads back to Earth, which is over 1 billion miles. And that is only a tiny fraction of the amount of miles in space. So remember, space is big. The astronaut James Irwin said, "The Earth reminded us of a Christmas tree ornament hanging in the blackness of space. As we get farther and farther away, it diminished in size. Finally, it shrank to the size of a marble, the most beautiful marble you can imagine." As Santa gets closer to the Earth, he can start seeing geological features of planet Earth, such as the large tree on the left, which is really a lake in Iraqi Kurdistan. You can also see the lights from planet Earth, such as lights of Paris here. And of course, at Christmas time, they're brighter than other times of year. You can see geological features such as oceans, the Grand Canyon, and the Great Barrier Reef. Santa can see weather patterns from space, such as this hurricane on the left, and the northern lights from space. He can guide himself back to Earth from the lights of Christmas trees. And finally, I invite you to check out our website or follow us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you'd like to make a video for us, you can send us an email. And no matter whether you're a human or an animal or a Santa, I wish you a cosmic Christmas. And if there are aliens out there, they will join me in wishing you a happy New Year. Thanks for watching.